or welcome back to Not Easy Being Geeky, the podcast where me, Rachel, the host, talks about nerdy last week I had a wonderful guest with me, Mary Susan Moore, and it was our special Halloween episode, and I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed that because I had so much fun recording that one. And it was definitely diving deeper into Coraline was definitely much darker than I had even anticipated it would be. But it was a very, very interesting, and I loved learning more stuff about the film and the book itself as well. So that was really interesting. If you haven't checked that episode out, would definitely recommend watching that on our new YouTube channel. But yeah, I had so much fun doing that episode. And this week, I did want to, give people a little heads up. We are talking about Lore Olympus, and this is a young adults series, and they do have adult themes in it. I know my podcast is already, not kid friendly, but just in case, this is more for people as a trigger warning. We are going to talk about sexual assault and other abuse. So if that makes you uncomfortable or if it's too triggering for you, I completely understand. This is just a heads up. So that way, if you don't want to hear anything about that, this is your way to leave the episode. I completely understand. But I did just want to put that out there. But to start off, we will start off a little bit more lighthearted. So, Lore Olympus is a wonderful story, and it's completely free. You can find it on Webtoon. It's an app, also free. Now, you can always pay to get episodes sooner, but I'm a cheap bitch. So sometimes I do it, but it's rare. That's if I'm like really sucked in. But I mean, most of the time I can contain myself because sometimes I wait a few weeks to binge them. So, this is also going to have spoilers. So if you have not read Lore Olympus, I will let you know you can very easily binge it quickly. There's now 2 seasons. Season 2 just started, but I will not be giving any spoilers of season 2. This is mainly spoilers of season 1, because I know it just started, so I don't want to ruin season 2 for people that haven't been able to read it yet. But Rachel Smythe, she is the creator of Lore Olympus. Her art style is so beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. It's very monochromatic, and you know what it kind of reminds me of in a way, and I those old like in The Incredibles how they do like the comic vibe, but it's like the super old school kind of comics where it's like just with shapes and colors and things like that. Also very monochromatic. It reminds me a lot of that, but in a different way because it's not too what's the word? Geometric. So definitely a good mix on things, but I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And what's cool is this series instantly, like the first panel that I read, sucked me in. It was just so beautiful. And just to give you a little, vibe into what this is, the first scene is like you see this blue, the scene is blue and it's a car going through the cityscapes, and you just, first of all, badass car, totally gave me like Bruce Wayne vibes, which honestly Hades himself kind of reminds me of in a way. He's the king of the underworld, obviously, and he's got all the money and shit he could ever want, but he's very lonely. So that reminds me a lot of the great vigilante himself, Batman. But
the art style that you're thinking of is a mid-century modern.
Oh, dope. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for looking that up.
I love that art style too.
It's really cool. But in a way it's so different from that too. You know what I mean? It like the monochromatic style is what reminds me of that.
It has like a water paint.
Yeah, it's style. like watercolor.
Yeah. Watercolor. Yes, that one. Yeah, it's like a watercolor version of mid-century modern. I don't know.
It's so beautiful. And you think after a while each character would kind of start to like look the same because you start to run out of colors. No. She's very like good about separating which characters which and giving them a lot of great character development and differentiating their way that they're drawn, like their stylistic type, like how they dress and things of that nature, how they carry themselves, to where even if she repeats a color for a character, you can clearly tell them apart from another. Um and I very much enjoy the series because it's a modern telling of like Greek mythology, and the thing is it does differ a lot from actual Greek mythology, which I do not mind. But if anyone is like, diehard into Greek mythology and doesn't like when people stray away from that, then you may not enjoy the series. But I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's basically a modern telling of Hades and Persephone's love story, which the actual story is not. It's a little dark. I believe he actually kidnaps her. So it's definitely not like that in Lore Olympus.
True love.
Yeah, so it's a little bit darker. I still thoroughly enjoy Greek mythology. It's always actually been one of my favorite things to learn about, and it's always interested me. And whenever, I remember in high school, whenever we talked about it, whether it be in like my literature class or something, I was just always so like captivated by it because I thought the stories were so cool. Um, and I know that Lore Olympus is I think on Webtoon the number one series. And I know for sure that it was the first series to ever been sought out for an animated series. And I know that got a what is it? There's a few other ones. I think it's Tower of God that got yeah, it is. That got turned into a anime. So yeah, it's just opened the door for so many other series. So
And also a great place for artists to
oh
really be able
yeah,
to get
because it
their
gives them a free platform to put their work out there, but they can make money off of it very easily. It's a very good platform for that. And yeah, it just I love the story so much. It's great. And I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how the Jim Henson Company, I mentioned this in my Jim Henson series. The Jim Henson Company is the one that they're partnering with that Rachel Smythe is partnering with. Geez, I can't talk. To do the animated series. And I thought that was so fucking cool because you guys know how much I love Jim Henson and his movies. And um just I grew up with Jim Henson, and to see that they are still thriving and keep going and making more shit is just, it's awesome. And um I can't wait. The last update I've seen was last year in 2019. I'm sure things have obviously gotten pushed back because of COVID. So I would love in the future to get an update soon. I know that's a long shot, but I would very much like that. And I do know what I thought was funny. So Rachel Smythe has had many interviews over this series, and basically like if they were to ever like let me find this. It was pretty fucking cool, I'm not gonna lie. It was like her ideal, like if she were to do a live action cast, and I thought that was really fucking cool. So, and one of them sent me like flying because first of all, I love Jane the Virgin. I love that series. So
Here we go with the live action remake again.
shut up. Hold on one second. This is like, this one I don't think I'd mind as much, but it's not going to be live action, so I don't care. It's just like if she were to do a live action, who would she have cast?
Yeah, I gotcha.
But I thought that was, where is it? I'm looking. 1 second. Sorry. Rachel Smythe. So some of these people I thought like instantly would be like fucking perfect. But she said Justin Baladani, who is, oh geez, he's in Jane the Virgin and he plays Raphael. He would be fucking perfect. He has like the perfect features for it, but also I was always Team Raphael in the series. So I thought he would be, I could totally see him being like a live action Hades, like 100%. Then she said Billy Zane for Zeus, who I could also see because he's played an asshole so many times. And Zeus is a total asshole. Hera, I don't even know who this is. So I don't want to say her name wrong, but okay, so Poseidon, there's that, okay. What's I okay, so this was so fucking funny to me because she said this dude
As who?
Poseidon fucking
Oh, the dude from Brooklyn. He's been in
he's
so
in
many
he's
things.
been in so much shit, but his name is Jason. I can't say his last name, but I don't want to butcher it because I know I can't say it right. But he's in Big Mouth. He was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's in so much shit, and he's always that chaotic character.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fucking perfect. And that just cracked me up when I saw that. And this sent me over the fucking edge because so for Eros, who is our total, like, very feminine, but, like, still masculine character, very, like, non-binary vibes I'm getting. He's a total badass and a wonderful friend, like, every girl's best friend you could wish for. And she said either Daniel Levy or Donald Glover, and I think both of those would be fucking perfect. Either one, I'd be so happy. But I really could see Daniel Levy like getting hardcore into that role. Like, I would love that. For those of you that watched Schitt's Creek, I'm very sad to see it end, but I thoroughly enjoyed the last season. I was in tears. I love that series.
Like half the season.
Yeah, I know. I really was crying so much. I was not expecting that. Oh, and then she said John Mulaney for Hermes, which I thought was also fucking perfect. And then
What about Nick Kroll? What's he getting into?
yeah, I know, right? Hecate. Okay, so Hecate is very boss bitch, bad bitch vibes. She's Hades' right-hand woman for the underworld. She gets shit done. And she said Aubrey Plaza. And I was like, yes, I see it. I need it in my life. Would love that. And then she only had like a one person for Minth, which is Mila Kunis, and I see that hardcore. I could totally see that. And Thetis, she put Emma Roberts because she's in her words, she said she had that big dick energy. And for Persephone, my favorite choice that she said was Emilia Clarke, which I could very much see that because in a way, Persephone does remind me a lot of Daenerys from Game of Thrones. A lot. I could very much see Emilia Clarke transferring over to that, no problem, in that role. But she also said Louis Carvalho, who played Moana in Disney. And she also said Kimiko Glenn, who was in Orange is the New Black. Great actress also. But those are some people who she said she would cast in her live action if she were to do a live action of Lore Olympus, but we have already been confirmed that it's going to be animated. So don't you worry. You all know how I feel about live action shit.
I would probably be typecast as a tree 1B.
Yeah.
Stage right.
Yeah. But I thought that was really interesting that she had, like, if she could do, like, a dream cast, that some of the people she picked, was like, yeah, that's some spot on shit.
I like the Danny,
Daniel Levy.
And Glover.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love
like
that. That was yeah, hardcore, like, super perfect for that. Yeah, I could totally see either one of them being Eros, no problem. But like I was saying, she just really does great character development. We've talked about this in previous episodes. Character development is so important to a story because it drives the story forward, and it's just so beautiful. And So let me kind of just break down each character a little bit. Minth, and Hades, you are some of the first characters you see, and you instantly get a bad vibe from their relationship. Hades is trying to call Minth, asking her if she's ready to go to his brother Zeus's party, and she's like, I don't know, I might come, I might not, and he's like, bruh, you said you were coming. Like, and she's literally just chilling in a bathtub, like, I don't give a fuck, essentially. Um, you can already kind of tell from like that first instance that their relationship is a bit hectic. Like Hades can't seem to get her to ever cooperate for anything, and she just doesn't care. Um, so then he gets to the party, she doesn't come, and Hera, who is his sister-in-law, is the first one to greet him at this party, and she's like, "Where's your date?" And he's like, "I'm the only one here that doesn't fucking have one." So you can already tell he's already kind of a loner, he's kind of used to being alone. And then in here comes Zeus, smooching on Hera, lovey-dovey, and he's like, "Oh fuck, here we go." Like he's just tired of this shit. You could tell he's like, "I get it. I'm the third fucking wheel every time." Like, and so fast forwarding a little bit, what kind of jump starts the story is you see Persephone the first time at the party, and the moment that Hades sees her, it's like locked on. He's like, "Who is that?" Instantly, he's like, "I want to know who she is." And he's never seen her before, and she's like the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. So much so that he says she's more beautiful than Aphrodite, which most of you should know, like if you know anything about Greek mythology, which most people do in some way or another, that Aphrodite is the goddess of beauty. So that's saying a lot.
That's high praise.
That's high praise. And Aphrodite herself did not like hearing that, so she decided to play a little prank on Hades and Persephone and kind of get her drunk and dump her into Hades' car. Yeah. And so that kind of jumpstarts the story in a very poorly way of me telling it. But so just I'm telling you, I'm gonna tell you a very shittier version of how you're gonna read it, but it's also because I don't want to give too much away. And so when Aphrodite does this, she gets Eros' help, who is her son. And he's kind of like the one that gets her a little tipsy and is like, "Yo, mom, I think we're taking this a bit far." She's literally like the personification of a cinnamon roll. His exact words. Like, "She's so cute and sweet and innocent. What the hell do you have against this girl?"
I love cinnamon rolls.
Yes. And it's funny because she's like, "Listen, it's just to teach Hades a lesson to not compare people to me because I'm the fucking shit, essentially." And he's like, "All right, whatever. I just don't want to deal with your bullshit because you got some shit on me, and I know that I can't really disobey you because you got this shit on my head, which over me, shit hanging over my head." You don't find out that shit until way later, though. Well, not even way later, but it is later on in the story when she's like, "Do I have to like bring up this person?" And you're like, "Who the fuck is that?" But again, keeps you interested. What's so cool about the series is that the main story is about Hades and Persephone, but you have all these little intertwinings of other stories, of other characters, and how they're all coming into one. And that's what I really liked about the series, because if you take a break from the main characters for a moment, there's still something interesting going on with the other characters. And it helps bring forward the strong force of the actual storyline.
Well, that's kind of what storytelling is.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, you've got your main characters.
That's why the Jim Henson Company wanted her, because it was like they said that it was like what the Jim Henson Company is all about is storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've got your main characters.
Mm-hmm.
The world doesn't revolve around your main characters. It does in your view of them.
Yeah.
But it's real life. Real life.
Yeah.
Everything happens around them just like everything normally does. Whatever is being pushed on.
Yeah. And so this whole prank happens, and it kind of goes against their favor because instead of him seeing her as like, oh, here's some sloppy chick that got drunk and now she's in my car, they didn't anticipate how good of guy that Hades actually is, and he took care of her, let her stay the night, didn't try to, make her leave or anything. He was
Take
just like,
advantage of the situation or
yeah,
anything.
yeah, exactly. He just was like, this chick needs some help. Let me make sure she gets some rest and some water and let her sleep it off. And she even tries to like, he's like, come on, don't do that. And cause she clearly was out of the state. She was clearly under the influence. And he was like, no, you need to get some rest. A bad guy could have easily taken that situation and taken advantage of it. You know what I mean? And so she wakes up the next day and is like, what the fuck? I'm in this badass mansion. There's a fucking indoor pool, like all this crazy shit. And that kind of is like the beginning of their story. And you know, you start to later see his relationship with Minth, who is technically his girlfriend. But also, they don't label themselves as that because she is like wants to keep him on a string kind of a thing. But I also really enjoy Minth's character because she has a very sad story. You can tell because she's always been kind of pushed to the side. No one actually really gives a shit about her. And so she takes all that hurt out on Hades, not realizing she really does have, and she realizes that she has a good guy. But she's thinking, the more I push him, the more he'll stay interested because, that's what's worked so far.
Playing games and shit.
Exactly. And he doesn't have anybody. It's not like his brother Zeus, who's, always cheating on his wife and shit and like being the biggest piece of shit. He doesn't have anyone. So I can keep playing this game with him and it'll work every time. Um, and it's kind of a very abusive relationship, honestly, because they hurt each other a lot. It's not a one-way street. I will say that. Um, because Hades at a point, he realizes his feelings for Persephone and he tries not to act on them, but you can tell he's like emotionally invested in her, which is just as much as cheating as, you know, doing anything with someone else. You know what I mean? If you're not longing for your actual person anymore and you're, not purposefully, I mean, that's still in a way cheating if you ask me, because you're not invested in your actual partner. You're looking at someone else. You know what I mean? And so she realizes here's this chick and she's like, who the hell is it? And she starts to get jealous. And then you see even more darkness come out and she catches herself like, why are you pushing him away? You're like shoving him into her arms. And she's like, why am I like this? And it's because of her own trauma that she's like this, which is very sad, so she's basically her own worst enemy in that sense. Like, here's this wonderful guy that I actually do give a shit about, but I can't even tell him I give him a shit because it doesn't come out that way when I want it to, because here I've been always been a piece of shit to him, and that's what's worked, and I don't know how to be a good person to him anymore.
It's such a relatable relationship.
It is. It very much is, because I think we've all had that one relationship.
At some point or the other, there's been one relationship like that. I mean, maybe not for everybody.
But I can definitely relate. There's a lot of people that can relate to it, where it's like you stay with this person because you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's not a good relationship, but you've known each other so long. And it's like at that point, you're like, well, I guess I'll just stay with this person.
When you get comfortable, you get lazy.
Yeah.
And then when you get lazy, things like...
Yeah, exactly. It becomes abusive.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it could be that you don't even mean for it to be, but you staying together is more toxic than you guys just not being together.
Yeah. And I'm not saying being comfortable is a bad thing. I'm
saying no,
it's easy if you're
easy to not
if
put
you're both
effort.
Not fighting. Yes.
Yeah, it's easy to not put effort into something anymore.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where, shit starts to go left, because she realizes she's pushed him away, and he finally has his breaking point where he's like, listen, I care about you, but it's just not worth it anymore. like the pain that you put me through, which is so sad because that there's a breaking point to everyone, but I don't think she was prepared for it to happen then. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And there's this extremely sad scene where, she realizes she fucked up bad. And I'm not gonna go, like I said, I don't want to ever give too many spoilers because people, will want to read this, but I don't want to give too many. So she realizes she fucked up bad, and it's like pouring rain. I mean, the theatrics, like I said, it's a comic strip, you know what I mean? But you feel like you're watching a movie because it's just like so detailed.
Isn't there, like, audio, like, ambient
Sometimes,
music
yeah.
sometimes?
Yeah, which really does help, but
That's cool.
yeah. So in certain more, I will say, heavy episodes, there's definitely music. I don't, she has a very purposeful point to when she puts music in an episode.
As she should.
Yes. And
That's awesome.
there's this very sad scene, and it's like she like basically goes to Hades and is like she just wanted to be with him essentially one more night, and it's not like just to be around him. And she basically is like, "Hey, I'm sorry I was a piece of shit." And he's like, "I care about you and everything, but it's just like, I can't do much about this." And it's really sad, and it's like you could tell that was like their way of trying to make it work one more time, but it didn't last.
It was
Um
it was a half full effort.
yeah, and it was you could tell there was like, it's because he really does like truly he knew in that moment that he saw Persephone that he was like, "That's
He had kind of already checked out of that
yeah,
other, relationship.
exactly." And so Persephone also, like, her character development, Persephone is my favorite character, and it's because she starts off as something so innocent and pure and naive to the world and ignorant to a lot of it because her mother was so overly protective of her entire life. And it damaged her in a way that's she's unprepared for the real world. Um and so Persephone, not knowing of anything, very ignorant, like I said, she sadly like doesn't understand a lot of things, like how to communicate with people properly and boundaries and things like that because she was never around that many people. And so she grew up and was just surrounded by these very few small amount of people, like in a very tight bubble. And she was always monitored. She never could really have privacy, just basic human necessity things, to not be, overthinking things. And she has a very sad story. And when she meets Hades, she doesn't realize she's flirting with him, and she's like, "Wait, I shouldn't be doing this because like he has a girlfriend." And she feels guilty because she knows she wants him, but she knows it's wrong because he's with somebody, and she hates that she feels that way. You could tell that she feels guilty because she doesn't want to like make anything bad for him. And she doesn't realize like these people, are angry with her because of the way she is. She's just trying to understand things better. And I unfortunately, I'm just gonna give you guys a warning now. This is if you wanted to dip out the episode, this is the point where you might want to do it. Um, so I'll give you guys a second. But Persephone, she rooms with what's her name? It's gonna drive me crazy. I have a list of the characters just because I knew I'd forget somebody's name. Um, Artemis. She rooms with Artemis, and Artemis basically took her in because she was tired of. She could see that Persephone wanted something better for her life rather than what her mom was giving her in a bubble. And so she's like, "You can stay with me, and and we'll get you taken care of, and you can start to become your own person essentially. You don't have to stay with your mom your entire life, in this bubble." And Demeter or Demeter, sorry, did not like this. And for whatever reason, she, later on you find out why she lets her, go with her. But Artemis's brother is Apollo, who is absolutely the biggest piece of shit scumbag in the entire fucking series. And for those of you that know why, I cannot fucking wait until Hades finds out what he did to Persephone so he can murder this fuck. And I mean that in the most sincere way. But I mean, I don't know if that's gonna happen. That's just ultimate dream. No, I'm kidding. But you know, Apollo gets like gets a thing for Persephone, and he starts to pursue her, but in a very overpowering way. And she's already kind of uncomfortable around him to begin with. She always had a very unsettling feeling about him. And he never leaves her alone. So like he just kept forcing himself like into her, life. Like, hey, I'm here. Oh, I just thought I'd stop by, and like, she always got this weird feeling. And then one night, the gang's kind of hanging out, watching a movie, and they fall asleep. And Persephone goes to her room to go to bed, and Apollo follows her. And she's getting ready for bed. She's in her bed, and she notices that someone's in the room, and she's a little, out of sorts. And unfortunately, what's sad is, Apollo completely takes advantage of her, and he's like, you want to do this, and like he's convincing her in a way that she doesn't really have a chance to say she doesn't want something to do with him. And he rapes her, and he's taking pictures of it. And she asks him, why are you taking pictures? And he's like, oh, it's no big deal. This is totally normal. And she has no clue that she's been raped. Like I said, she's been kept in a bubble her whole life. So she doesn't know what that moment is actually supposed to be like. It's not supposed to be like that. And this scene makes me really emotional, because it's so sad, because she doesn't realize what's happened to her, but she knows she felt like something was wrong after it happened, because he just leaves, and she's like, I don't feel like that's how that moment was supposed to happen. And she just shuts down essentially for the next and like you can tell something is off about her. And Eros comes to see her, and they talk, and she tells him what happens, and he has to tell her that's rape. That's not supposed to happen. That's not right. What he did was he raped you. And it like hits her all at once. Which, what a shitty way to find out, because you're so sheltered your entire life. You don't know what it's like, And that really, I feel like, was a huge turning point for Persephone's character. Because, unfortunately, this horrible thing happened to her, and she didn't understand it. And she couldn't really cope with how to feel after that. And she couldn't even tell anyone, because she's supposed to be celibate for her entire life, because she's in this scholarship that her mother essentially forced her to be in to protect her, essentially, but is more damaging. And she realizes that if someone finds out that she's had sex, then she can lose this scholarship, and her mother will take her back, and she'll lose the life that she started to get for her own, And it's really sad, because, like I said, her mother, Demeter's just been very sheltering and very protective her entire life in a damaging way. And not, in my opinion, not a loving way. There's good parenting where you naturally want to take care of your kids, but being abusive is another way. I don't know if she's ever been, because I don't, know the entire story yet, but um she may not have been physically abusive to Persephone, but she's definitely been emotionally and mentally abusive to her daughter.
Well,
And
locking him up
that's,
essentially
yeah,
and
she's
throwing away the
locked her
key.
up or essentially her entire life and not let
You
her
can't
be
learn
her own person.
yeah, you can't learn skills, you can't learn
Mhm.
basic common knowledge. I mean, in that situation that you're speaking of, I mean, that's just a situation where I don't feel like anybody's really ready for until they're in
Ex
that kind of moment. But I mean,
But still, yeah,
the
usually,
awareness,
yeah, the awareness that she didn't know what was actually happening to her until someone tells her that that's what happened. That's how unaware and naive she is to the entire world and that there are bad people, you know. And so the wonderful thing though is that throughout season 1, later in the season, Persephone starts to definitely become more vocal. And I think it's with her growing relationship with Hades that helps her realize, you know, I don't, need this person to help me, but he's been the only constant that has actually treated me like an adult, not as a child, you know? And I think that's why she, you know, is so drawn to him at first too, is because like here's this person that isn't treating me like I don't know anything, and that isn't trying to just belittle me. He respects me. And um it's like I said, the whole thing is just shitty that it happens to her. But what's awesome is little by little she starts to gain confidence and to grow and speak out for herself because there's this little like it's so minuscule, but fucking Apollo like again, like I said, he notices that she's ignoring him and like brushing him off all the time and it makes him angry. So he just shows up one day to his sister's place and is like, "Hey, I'm making pancakes for everybody and making everybody breakfast." And she's like, "I'm not hungry. I got to go." And he's like, "Come on, just sit and have the fucking pancakes." And she's like, "I don't want your fucking pancakes." And she like that was like her last straw essentially where she's like, "I don't like you. I don't want to be around you. Leave me the fuck alone," essentially. And that just made him more mad, you know.
plus your
Um,
pancakes suck.
yeah, fuck your pancakes, bitch. Pussy ass bitch. No, but that was like I felt like, yeah, stand your ground, girl, like kick
Yeah,
ass.
get out of there.
And that was a great step in the right direction for her. And you know, I just fucking hate Apollo, man. I'm gonna like I fucking hate this dude because like he's just so manipulative and the biggest piece of shit. And here's this guy that, people look at him and because he looks, what's so crazy is he reminds me a lot of Ted Bundy. How to the average person he seems like so perfect and polished, but he's a monster. He's a fucking monster. And that's the thing is because his outward appearance is so not what you would expect someone like a monster to be that people don't think that he would do anything like that. His own sister like has no clue that this happened and here she is sticking up for her brother like, "Why do you get mad when my brother comes over? Like why don't you like my brother?" And Persephone can't even fucking tell her. Like your brother fucking raped me. Your piece of shit brother would not leave me alone and he raped me and he took something from me. You know what I mean? He took my peace of mind. He took my sense of safety. He took a piece of me away, you know? And it's so sad because she can't even tell anybody. And it's just so cool though because you get a glimpse of what her future with Hades is in like the smallest little bit when Hades goes to the fates. He doesn't know this yet, but the fates do. And they basically are like, let him be curious about his future queen. And you see how she's such a badass and powerful. And you get a glimpse of that throughout the series, how powerful she really is. And I think that's what's so cool is because everyone always undermines her as like, oh, she's just some secondhand goddess, whatever. But she's just so powerful. And here are these people that are undermining her and don't realize like how truly powerful she is. Um, it's just so cool. She's got wonderful character development and she's just so kind and I really do enjoy her character.
Well, she comes in as like a innocent little, whatever you want to say, and then you see her get just brought down
To nothing,
to
yeah.
nothing through that one experience, and so many different aspects of her life changed immediately from that. But to see her
Oh
grow
yeah,
and to become that boss bitch, that's awesome.
you can tell she's becoming her own person. And, you know,
That's
Ha
exciting.
yes, and Hades, you know, he's already done some sketch shit for her. Like a guy that just took fucking random pictures of them. He took his fucking eye out because it painted her in a bad light. Imagine what he does to fucking Apollo when he finds out what he did to her. That's what I can't fucking wait for. Wreck his shit, Hades. Wreck his shit. That entitled little prick. Ugh. Anyway, but the cool thing, and here's a spoiler. Hera does know what happens to Persephone, and she just figures it out. She gets like this inkling, and she figures it out. And she has like a vision. And for those of you that don't know, Hera is the goddess of marriage, and so she's like supposed to be the matchmaker. And so eventually, she finds out what he did to Persephone, and she's just like trying to prove it to Zeus. And she's like, I don't know, something's weird about him. I don't trust him. And he's like, you're fucking insane. You're overthinking shit. Why do you give a shit about Apollo? Because he's trying to undermine her. Also, Zeus is also kind of a piece of shit. He can be a funny like character at times, but also, how many times are you going to cheat on your wife? You ass. Also, with his own fucking like what is she? His assistant. And he treats his assistant like shit too. It's just he just wants to put his dick in anything that moves, essentially. Anyway.
Well, he thinks he's the top of the world.
Yeah, it means
In
exactly.
Greek mythology,
In
he
Greek
is.
mythology, he is, yeah.
But
So
I like how it portrays people who have big heads to be big dicks.
yeah, even though that's not usually that's not the case. They're overcompensating hardcore. But what's funny is like, every now and again Zeus will have his like redeeming qualities, and I think that's what sucks for Hera is because she really does love her husband, you can tell, but she's just kind of stuck because obviously she's the goddess of marriage. So what would it look like if they were to ever break up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm not happy in my marriage, and it's clear, but I just got to stick with this asshole essentially because it'll ruin not just my reputation, but his as well. And it's like, we can't have that, period. Because they're essentially like celebrities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and see, I think this is kind of a situation that another very relatable situation where it's people who feel like they're stuck, they get involved in this relationship,
Hmm.
and years go by or months go by, whatever it is, and then they want out, but they keep trying to make excuses in order to stay so that way it doesn't inconvenience them.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're in a bad situation, get out of that bad situation. Don't think of, I don't know. I'm not here to.
To preach at
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
but
yeah. But
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. But I think it's great that finally Persephone has someone besides Apollo, not Apollo, Jesus, besides Eros on her side to like look out for her, because Hera's like, no, I'm not letting that fuck get near her. You know what I mean? And she's like the driving, like behind the scenes force to get something taken care of. And she's trying to help her and look out for her. So it's like she finally has like a little guardian behind her back looking out for her, without even her knowing. And it's great. And what's funny is Eros, even like early on, you get a piece of his story, and his story is really fucking sad too, because his mom, like Aphrodite. Another thing that kind of like just to let you know, gods, like once they hit like a certain age, like they stop aging like physically, and it's different for each person, whatever. And so their kids are like, look like grown-ass adults. They look the same fucking age as them. So it can be a little confusing at times, honestly. You're like, oh shit, yeah, that's their kid. They're not the same age. But so Aphrodite basically like calls Eros and is like, hey, I need you to take care of some shit. And he's like, why? What's up, mom? What's up, bitch? And she's like, the humans are saying that there's someone on Earth that is as beautiful as me. I need you to take care of that shit. And he's like, all right, fine, fuck. Like, he's like, great, I'm on another errand for my mom.
Can you go get the milk, please?
Yeah, can you go get the milk? Can you go take care of this chick that's apparently prettier than me? Go take that bitch out.
Yeah.
And so essentially he's like on this crazy errand to, you know, take care of the situation, like, you know, have her fall in love with the most hideous creature you could think of, so that way it like diminishes her essentially. In the views of other people is basically what she wanted. And so he finds a pig and he's like, this looks like it could be the ugliest thing in the world. Yeah, pig. A cute little pig.
They're not cute.
I love piggies.
I know you do.
They're cute. I love baby pigs.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're so cute with the little snoots, and their wiggly tail. Anyway, cuteness. I love animals in general, minus birds. I'm not a fan of birds. That's personal experience though. The rats with wings. Anyway, I got off track there. Sorry. So he finds a pig and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna have her fall in love with this. And he's about to like, you know, essentially like shoot her with this like arrow and be like, yo, fall in love with this pig, bitch. And then he's like, I don't get what the big deal is. She's all right. And he starts like examining her like throughout her day. And he's like, all right, pig, you just chill here. And because he gets like curious and he follows her throughout her day and he realizes that her family's kind of abusive to her and he wants to like help, but he's like obviously can't interfere. And so then he finds out that her family is forcing her to marry this man even though she doesn't love him because, you know, back then, marry for wealth, not because you love someone. And so he steps in because this guy winds up being a raging asshole, and is like making disgusting jokes at her expense. And he's like, that's fucking it. And he's like changes his form to be the most hideous thing she's ever seen, and he rescues her essentially. And then he falls in love with her and they spend time together. And her sisters come out to seek her and they're like, who is this guy? You don't even know who he is, and you're living with him, and like people are talking shit, and it's like you don't know anything about him. And she's like, no, but I love him. And they're like, no, he's like, there's something wrong with him. You need to do something. So they give her a dagger to essentially murder him. And it puts this doubt in her head, like, yeah, why did, you know, who is this person? And so she starts to question her loyalty towards him. And sadly enough, she goes into his room and she pulls back the covers of his bed while he's sleeping, and she sees his wings, and she then realizes, oh god, this is Eros. He's a god. I just tried to murder a fucking god.
Oh god, not you.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah. Oh shit. I just tried to murder a fucking god. And she has the dagger and she's in shock, and he wakes up and he's in shock and he's like, what did I do to you? Have I not been kind to you and like loving, and why would you do this? And she realizes she's it's too late. She's already messed up. And that moment of betrayal, you know, is just so sad. And basically his mom is like, all right, we need to cover this shit up because people can't know why you went on this rampage for this chick. So she helps him cover it up essentially, and that's what she has over his head and why he helped her with the whole Persephone prank. So yeah, you see events happen in different time too. It's like flashbacks essentially. But you realize that that's also why he's hurting, and he feels that she's still out there somewhere, and he realizes he messed up in that sense that he shouldn't have overreacted that way because he didn't really give her any explanation as to who he was. And so she did have reason to doubt him. And she could have tried to kill him, but she didn't. She stopped, and he realizes like I think I overreacted a smidgen. Um a smidgen. And he feels like she's still out there, but that his mom's keeping it from her. So he's kind of on this search for her essentially. But like I said, the character development with these characters, even though they may not be the main characters like, Hades and Persephone, you see glimpses of their stories and why it all kind of intertwines together. Um and it's wonderful story, and it's like I said, there's some serious shit that they're not afraid to tackle real world shit, and that's why I really respect it because it's done in a very good and endearing way, without diminishing what it truly is. Like, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I feel like TV shows will like gloss over it and why it is so horrible and damaging, and they're just like, "Oh, it happened, but she's okay now." It's like, no, that shit stays with you your entire life.
There's a hell of a lot more than just it happened and then she's okay. There's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff. That's A to Z. There's
Y
a
yeah,
24 other letters to go.
and then you got the millions of numbers after that. It's
Exactly.
it doesn't stop, you're always trying to heal from it.
Exactly.
Um,
A lot of things that a conversation could help, but here's the thing, you can't really have that conversation with people
exactly,
because people,
they're very close-minded about it.
they don't wanna hear about it.
Exactly.
They,
People they feel like it's too real. They want that sense of fantasy. And to me, honestly, I think we should talk about it more.
it's something that should be talked about. That
It
way,
makes it
people don't feel
real.
scared to bring it up.
Exactly.
That way, you're not Persephone on not having to tell somebody about this situation
Yeah.
and feeling like whoever you
Feeling
do tell,
dirty.
feeling dirty, feeling guilty, feeling like it was your fault on something. I mean, I guess that's guilty, but still, those are the reasons. Those reasons right there are reasons why it should be brought up. So that way,
Exactly.
the victim doesn't feel like they have to be feeling like they're the wrong ones either.
But yeah, the character development is very well done, and it's a wonderful series overall. And I didn't give too much away. I gave you guys bits. I gave you some core points, and I hope you guys check it out because like I said, it is a wonderful series. I didn't want to dive into anything in season 2 because it just started. Um but I highly recommend it. You can totally binge the series, no problem. I've gotten so many people hooked on this. Shout out to my friend Brittany, who is a hardcore fan at the moment. I got her hooked. Um, I got my husband hooked. I got so many of my friends to read this series, and now they love it and are also cosplaying it, and it's very good. And I can't wait to see the animation for the animated series. I really hope they do carry over the style, and just further, you know, amplify it. Don't take away from it. And I'm excited to see who voices the characters. That's something I would please get Daniel Levy to voice. Please. I would be so excited. And I really did love that choice. I felt like that was so fitting. Him or Donald Glover. That was like a perfect pick, honestly. I could see either one of them like perfectly doing that. But yes, I'm very excited for that. I really hope that we have an update on that soon, and I'm already thoroughly enjoying season 2, and watching the characters grow even more and the story develop even further. So, um, I'm super excited to see what the future holds for this series, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And when you do check it out, please leave it in the comments of our YouTube, our Instagram, anything like how you guys are feeling about it. Like let's have many discussions about this. I'm so down. Um, but yeah, I thoroughly love this series, and I did want to just touch on, we will probably I'm not afraid to talk about serious shit in my podcast. I feel like we need to. And so if it makes you uncomfortable, I totally understand. But maybe we need to get a little bit uncomfortable sometimes to talk about it. If it's triggering for you is something different, but if it just makes you uncomfortable because it makes you feel like, ooh, that's we shouldn't talk about that. We need to talk about it, you know?
Yeah, if it's triggering from an experience or something,
That's completely
you know,
different, yeah.
we're sorry to hear that. But it is something, like you said, Rach, it is we need to be uncomfortable so that way we can talk about it. So that way people don't feel like
They can't.
they can't talk about it.
Yeah.
The more we talk about it, the more people might feel more open to talk about
Yeah.
it. Because there's always outside factors of more stuff than why didn't she just tell somebody? Because there's a thousand other reasons of why.
Exactly.
And she'll be made out to look like the bad guy more than likely.
And that's this. I'm glad you said that, because unfortunately that is so much of the reason why people stay silent. Not just women, men experience it too, and that's also something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
Yes, men can be abused, and it's sad that, you know, in this world people decide to blame the victim before the actual.
Well, what did she do to get there? Or what did he do to get there?
Well, she shouldn't have worn that, or she shouldn't have been drinking, or what. There is no how about don't rape, period. Don't rape.
Yeah.
Don't abuse people. How hard is that?
Exactly. What was Persephone's reason to going over to Hades' house? Well, she got drugged and was kind of just got there. So you want to ask for reasons. Sometimes there's not a reason.
Yes, it's bad things just happen in the world, unfortunately. And sometimes there isn't a specific reason. There's just bad people in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what sucks. But I feel like, you know, the more we talk about this shit, I hate to say easier, because it's never going to get easier, but the more people start to understand it.
Yeah. And they don't want to understand it because it's something that's complicated.
Exactly. It makes them feel uncomfortable. That's the main thing, is people don't like feeling uncomfortable.
It's an inconvenience in their life.
Yes. That's a good way to put it.
It's an inconvenience to their life because it's something that they don't personally have anything connected
to. Yeah.
At least they think that.
Yeah. And you know what's sad is that so many women, you'd be surprised the statistics of it. But I don't want you guys to ever feel like, you know, if there's something you guys want me to talk about and it's more serious, I'm always down to talk about it. I love, you know, this series, and, you know, it means a lot to me in personal reasons. You know, I can relate to a lot of these characters. And I really enjoy the series, and I hope you guys do too. But I love having discussions with you guys about the more serious stuff too.
And I think the creator of Lore Olympus, I think there's reasons why she brought this to light.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe to start a conversation. Maybe to start a conversation
like
just like this.
Yeah,
right
just
now.
like this, just right now. Yeah. It's a good way to think about it. But yeah, it's just, she's done a very good job of, you know, retelling these stories in a way that people now can kind of understand them. But obviously she's not trying to be too accurate to.
She's not trying to rewrite Homer and the Iliad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Iliad? Whatever.
I don't know. Anyway, listen, my 9th grade literature teacher would be very disappointed at the moment. I'm sorry, Miss Curley, but
yeah, 9th grade, that's forever ago.
Yeah. God, why did you have to say it like that? I know I'm old.
I'm older than you are, bro.
I know. But yeah, I love stories like this where it's, you know, they're not afraid to talk about the real shit, and I'm really excited to see how the story goes, and I really can't wait till Hades finds out what the fuck Apollo did so he can wreck his shit. That's just on a personal thing, but as always, guys, you know, I appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day to listen to me rant and discuss the shit I want to talk about. So as always, it's not easy being geeky, and I appreciate you guys checking it out. Thanks for listening to Not Easy Being Geeky. Be sure to check out our social media, including TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and now YouTube, where you can binge season 1. As always, thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world, and without you all, we wouldn't have our new dope setup. Thanks again, and stay geeky.